Hello students, today I am going to explain you the sixth poem of your book Beehive, that is No Men Are Foreign, written by James Kirkup. So before beginning the poetry, I would like to give you a short introduction of the poet James Kirkup. Then I'll introduce you the poem and explain you the meaning of the title of the poem, and then I'll give you the central idea or the theme of the poem, and then I'll explain each and every stanzas with the poetic devices. So first of all, let's begin with the with the poet. So the poet James Falconer Kirkup was born on 23rd April 1918 to James Harold Kirkup, and was an English poet, translator and travel writer who was born in England. He wrote over 30 books including autobiographies, novels and plays, and he wrote under many pen names including James Falconer, Aditya Jha, Jan Honda, Andrew James, Tycho Kawai, Felix Liston, Edward Ryburn, and Ivy B. Summer Forrest, and he became a Fellow of the Royal Society of Literature in 1962. Now about the early life, James Kirkup was brought up in the South Shields, educated at Westow Secondary School and then at King's College, Durham University. During the Second World War, he was a conscientious objector and worked for the Forestry Commission on the land in the Yorkshire Dales and at the Lansbury Gate Farm, Clavering, Essex. He taught at the Downs School in Cornwall, Malvern, where W.H. Auden, another great poet, had earlier been master, and Kirkup wrote his first book of poetry there, and this was The Drowned Sailor. This was his first poetry, which was published in the year 1947, and from 1950 to 1952 he was the first Gregory Poetry Fellow of Leeds University, making him the first resident university poet in the United Kingdoms. So this was about the poet. Now about the poem. Now I'll tell you the meaning of the title of the poem, No Men Are Foreign. So the title only says, here the word in the title foreign means stranger, or the person who belongs to other country, who is unknown to us. So here the poet says that no men are strange to us. So with this the poet just want to deals with the theme of universal brotherhood. Human beings all over the world, according to the poet, have identical behavior, and the differences based on the man-made concepts of caste, creed, barriers, etc. are unnatural, and every human being responds positively to love. Hence, according to the poet, the title that he has given means that no human being is a foreigner or an outsider. So this was about the title. Now the central idea of the poem or the theme of the poem. So the poem No Men Are Foreign is about the concept of global brotherhood and equality with any place for any kind of prejudice, or that is partiality. And the poet says that the whole world is one. There is nothing like strangers or people like foreign, and all of us have a common feeling of love and a common resource of our life, of different nationalities and religion or color, and we must unite to make everyone's life better. And when we hate one another, we betray humanity. And by indulging in wars against each other, we spoil the purity of this earth, which belongs to all of us. And we all are human beings, and we should remember that no man is foreign and no countries are strange. So, this was the central idea of this poem. Now, the explanation of the poem, the very first stanza says, remember, no men are foreign or strange. No countries foreign. Beneath all uniforms, a single body breathes. Like ours, the land our brothers walk upon. Is earth like this, in which we all shall live? So, as I told you, the word strange here means an unknown person, and foreign is a country other than ours. So, the very first line says that, now the very first line means that the geographical boundaries segregate countries, and we consider countries other than ours to be foreign, and the people living in these countries to be strange. So, this is the meaning of the very first line. What makes strange men and countries foreign? No country is foreign. Then the next line, beneath all uniforms, a single body breathes. So, this line means that though the outward appearance of people varies because of difference in their attires or the clothes, there is an inherent similarity between all human beings, and all people live and breathe in a similar fashion. And militaries in the world may don different uniforms, they may wear different uniforms, but they comprise of human beings who essentially are the same anywhere in the world. Then the third line says, like ours the land our brothers walk upon. So here, what is referred to as our brothers? Our brothers are the people who live in countries other than ours, have been referred to as our brothers here in this line, because basically we all have similar emotions, hopes, joys and sorrows. Then the next line says, is earth like this, in which we all shall live? So, in which we all shall live means, this line means so in this line the poet says that at the end of our respective lives, we all shall lie buried in the same earth. And he means to draw our attention to the common fate, that every person, every human being has the same fate and same end that await us regardless of our nationality. No matter which country we belong to, we meet the same kind of death and we are buried in the same earth. So, what lesson do we learn from these lines? So, we can say that these lines teach us the lesson of peace, universal brotherhood and harmony. And we learn that since all people in the world are like our brothers and sisters, there are no enemies or strangers to be afraid of. So we can say that in the whole stanza, the poet says that no person is stranger to us, and there is nothing like a person being strange who is not from our area or not from our native place. And there is nothing like a country to be a foreign one, and that is ours, that is not ours. And there may be a difference in the way we eat, the way we talk and the way we dress ourselves, but all these things still count to uniformity. And we all are human beings and similar to each other. We may belong to different religions or caste, and we may have different colors, we may speak different languages, but above all these, we are only human beings. And all the differences don't matter, as we are brothers and we share a common land upon which we all walk, and we all do our respective work. We all live and survive. And at the end of our lives, we all shall lie on the same earth. So this was the meaning of this stanza. Now, the poetic devices. So in the first stanza, the poetic device being used by the poet is alliteration. And you can see alliteration in the second line, that is body breathes. And in this B word or B consonant, B sound is repeated. Therefore, there is alliteration in this line. Second poetic device used in this stanza is metaphor. In the second line only, when the poet says uniform, so here the uniform refers to the military of different countries. So it is a metaphor over here. Then third poetic device is repetition. That is the line, remember no men are strange, no country is foreign, is repeated in stanza 1 and stanza 5. So repetition is also there. And then enjambment. What is enjambment? I told you that the running lines of poetry from one line to the next without using any kind of punctuation to indicate a stop. So in stanza 1, line 2, 3 and 4 are in continuation. There is no punctuation mark. The line is in continuation. Therefore, enjambment has been used in these lines. Now the second stanza. The second stanza says that they too are aware of sun and air and water, are fed by peaceful harvests, by wars long winter starved. Their hands are ours, and in their lives we read a labor not different from our own. So first, the very first line here, they refers to the people of the countries other than ours, whom we consider to be strange. And then the line says they too aware of sun, air and water. So what do you mean by, or what are they aware of? They too are aware of the benefits of the sun, air and water. Like us, they also draw the subsistence from these elements of nature. Then the next line says, are fed by peaceful harvest, by war's long winter starved. So here the word fed means past from, it is fed is the past form of the word feed, and harvest is the produce from the fields, and starved means shortened, it is the shortened form of starved, that means died due to hunger. So here in this line, the poet has used a metaphor where in the line like war's long winter starved, here the starvation caused by the harsh winter season has been compared indirectly to the destructive period of wartime. And here the winter of war has been called long because unlike the natural phenomena of winter season, it is a self-inflicted trouble that not only robs the warmth of peace but also seems unending. Then the next line says, their hands are ours, and in their lines we read. So their hand are ours means that they too work hard like us with their hands to earn their livelihood. And it also means that human beings have basically the same physiognomy, that is, they do the same kind of work. All the people in this world, they are alike, and everybody, they work with their hands to earn their bread or earn their livelihood. Then the last line says, a labor not different from our own. This line means that the hard work done by the people who live in other countries is not different in any way from the one that we do, and all of us have to toil and work hard in a similar way for survival. So everybody has to survive in this world, and nobody can survive without working and without earning their bread, because no one can remain hungry. So in all, the meaning of the whole stanza is that the poet asks us to remember that the people whom we call the strangers or foreigners also use the sun, air and water as we all do, and they too are aware of them, and there is no difference in the way we use them. And thereby the poet asserts or just stress or lay stress to the lines that there is no foreigner among us. They get the crops and their eatables from the field as we all do, and they like peace as we do, and during the war even they have to face the hardships and they die due to starvation as we would have. So there is nothing like the foreigners, because all the things go parallel and they use their powers of hands to get the things done as we all do, and like us they also speak to communicate with each other. So where does the strangeness lie, and where do the foreigners lie? We are similar in every respect, and therefore the poet stresses that there is nothing as to be called strange or foreign. Now let's see to the poetic devices. In this second stanza, the poetic device used by the poet is alliteration again. Alliteration, you all know, it is a repetition of a consonant sound in two or more closely placed words. So in this, the line wars long winters starved. So here W is repeated in wars and winters. Therefore alliteration is there in this line. Then metaphor also has been used in this whole stanza, where that is the war's time is here in this stanza. The war time is compared to the winter season. Then the third poetic device used in this stanza is again enjambment, and enjambment has been used in line 3 and 3. And I must tell you that there is no rhyme scheme in the whole poem, as the poem is written in free verse. So there is no rhyme scheme in the poem. Now let's move on to the third stanza. The third stanza says, remember, they have eyes like ours, and wake or sleep, and strength that can be won by love. In every land is common life that all can recognize and understand. So here the word wake means to arise or to get up, and recognize means to identify. So now in the first line, who do the words they and ours refer to? They in this line refers to people of different countries whom we consider to be strange, and ours refers to the people living in their own country whom we consider to be like us. Then further the poet says that they have eyes like ours that wake or sleep. Means in this line the poet is trying to bring home the idea that those people whom we consider strange or foreign are similar to us in every way. They sleep and wake up each new day just like us. Even though the color and shape of our eyes is different from ours, they perform a similar function. Then the next line, the poet says, by love in every land is common life. So here what does the phrase common life means? It means that life anywhere in the world that was similar, patterns and features, birth and death, joys and sorrows, youth and old age, and so on and so forth. This commonness of common life is experienced by all the people of the world, regardless of the country in which they live. So, according to the poet, how can we win other people? The poet says that the strength of our people can be won by love and kindness and not by force or war. So, now the overall meaning of the stanza is that in this stanza the poet says that how can someone be a stranger or a country be foreign with so much of similarities, and he says that all of them whom we call strangers have eyes like that of ours, and they too see the world like us. They too follow the course of earth every day and sleep as well as wake up, and they too are sensitive like us, and they have strength like us. They are courteous to love and sympathy like us, and even they can be won by it. Even they submit themselves to the lovely feelings. Overall, we can see that there is no difference in the way we live. Wherever we go, life has a similar mechanism which is easily identifiable and can be understood with much ease, or you can say easily. And summing up all these lines, the poet is right in saying that no men are foreign and no country is foreign. So now let's see to the poetic devices. The main poetic device used in this stanza is enjambment, and enjambment can be seen in line 1, 2 and 3, as the lines are continued without any pause or without any punctuation mark. So now let's see to the fourth stanza. The fourth stanza says, let us remember whenever we are told to hate our brother, it is ourselves that we shall dispossess, betray, condemn. Remember, we who take arms against each other. So in these lines, the word dispossess means deprive, betray means to cheat or to bluff. So now we will see to the meaning of this stanza. The first line of the stanza says, let us remember whenever we are told to hate our brothers. In this line, who do you think tell us to hate our brothers? The opportunist and the power, the hungry leaders and politicians who are at the helm of affairs during the war time and tell us to hate our brothers. They only provoke us, they only change our mindset, and they only provoke us to hate the other people, to hate our brothers. And then further, what does our brothers here refer to? Our brothers here refers to the people living in other countries, and especially the people of warring countries, the countries who are at war. Then further, here, why do we sometimes hate our brothers? We sometimes hate our brothers because we allow vested and unscrupulous politicians and religious leaders to instigate us, and we are taken in by their lies about our differences and begin to consider our brothers as strange and foreign. So, and the next line says that we shall dispossess, betray, condemn. So, here the word dispossess, what does it mean? And why shall we dispossess ourselves? The poet says that we shall dispossess, or we should deprive ourselves by hating our brothers in other parts of the world when we are told by the politically motivated people to do so. And these brothers are not foreign or strange just because they belong to different countries, race and cultures. So we can say, so now what advice does the poet give us in these lines? The poet advises us to ignore the directions of those who provoke us or incite us to hate and exploit other people, because by doing so we will harm ourselves. So we should not believe the words of all these people, like the leaders, the politicians, and the religious people, or the religious leaders, you can say. So we should not believe blindly, we should not have faith in them, we should not believe blindly to what they say. The overall stanza means that in this stanza the poet says that we should remember that whenever someone tells us to hate a person from another country, to think him as our enemy, and whenever we think someone to be our enemy, then we deprive ourselves, we cheat ourselves, and we condemn ourselves. And he says that we should stay away from such negativity. We should not consider anyone to be our enemy during a war. Both the parties must bear the loss. And that is why the poet says that war is not in our favor. And he says that whenever we pick any weapon against someone, we should remember one thing, that we should not consider any human being as foreign and any country as strange, and we must build mutual respect and trust. Now let's see to the poetic devices used in this stanza. The main poetic device that is used in this stanza is again enjambment, and it can be seen in line 1, 2 and 3. Now let's move on to the fourth stanza. The fourth stanza says, let us remember whenever we are told to hate our brothers, it is ourselves. This stanza we have already done. So now we will move to the stanza number 5. Stanza 5 says, it is the human earth that we defile. Our hells of fire and dust outrage the innocence of air that is everywhere our own. Remember, no men are foreign and no countries strange. Now here the poet says human earth. So what is human earth here? Human earth is the human world that is comprised of all countries, races, cultures and creeds. And then how do we defile the human earth? What do you mean by the word defile here? Defile means to pollute, and the word outrage in this stanza means to overcome or to surpass. So now how do we defile the human earth? According to the poet, we defile or pollute the human earth by using arms and ammunitions to cause widespread death and destruction. And modern day weapons and modern industries cause irreparable damage to the environment. And then the poet asks that whom do we harm by going to wars? So by going to war, according to the poet, we harm ourselves as much as we harm the enemy. The environmental pollution makes this earth an equally unhealthy place to live in for both sides that go to war. Then the next line says, our hells of fire and dust outrage the innocence. So what do the lines hells of fire and the innocence of air means here? Hells of fire and dust stands for the devastation that is created and it is caused by the arms and ammunition that are used in the wars. And innocence of air here means the freshness and purity of air that nature has blessed us with. And it also indicates the innocence of human mind. The dust and smoke thus caused pollute the very air we breathe. Then now the next line, what does the poet want to convey by telling us that it is the human earth that we defile? So in the very first line, so here with this the poet want to convey that wars cause a massive destruction of life and property, and they ruin the clean and green environment of the earth and breed hatred and enmity. Hence no one benefits from war, because the damage caused to earth is to be borne equally, for we all share the same earth. So the whole stanza means that we should keep in mind that whenever we pick weapons against any person, we make the earth dirty, because weapons kill people and their bodies which fall on the earth make it dirty. And whenever war happens, it leads to a lot of bloodshed, fire and death. And these dead bodies accumulate on the earth and it makes it impure. And the fire of war which erupts, the smoke which comes out, the dust which fills the air, it is so dirty that it pollutes and outrages the purity of the air. And with all these things, the poet wants to give us a message that we should not indulge in war. Finally, he ends the poem by writing the first line in reverse and saying that, remember, no men are foreign and no country is strange. So this line is, you can say it is a refrain or it is repeated in each and every stanza. So it is a repetition also, and you call it as refrain. Now the poetic device used in this stanza. Again, the main poetic device that is used in this stanza is enjambment, and enjambment is used in line 2 and 3. So I hope you all have understood the poem. Now let us discuss about the message given out by the poet through this whole poem. You must have understood the message. So let us repeat. The message that the poet want to convey through this poem is that this, you can say this is a peace poem and gives a strong message to stop all wars and look upon humanity as a uniform thing or as a unified entity. And the poet warns the rulers of all the countries that when they wage wars, they not only injure the interests of those whom they hate, but also injure themselves. They should know that peace brings prosperity and wars bring destruction, and hence those who spread hatred and cause wars against their brothers and sisters in different parts of the world, actually they harm the cause of peaceful mutual coexistence. So I hope now you have got the poem, understood the poem clearly and very well. So now we will discuss the exercises which are given at the end of the poem. Now let us discuss the questions given at the end of the poem. The very first question is, beneath, there are two parts of the very first question. The very first part is, beneath all uniforms. Now what uniforms do you think the poet is speaking about? So for this you will write that the uniforms refer here to those worn by the soldiers belonging to different countries who indulge in wars and fights. The second part of this question, how does the poet suggest that all people on earth are the same? So the lines that suggest that all the people are same are the following. First, we belong to one human race. Second, we walk on the same earth. Third, upon death we will lie in our graves in the same earth. Fourth, during peace we all enjoy the bounties of nature. Fifth, during war and in the winter season we all starve due to shortage of food. And sixth, we all do a lot of labor with our hands. And seventh, we have eyes which function in the same way. So with all these things we can understand that the poet says that all the people are same. Now the second question. The second question says, in stanza 1, find ways in which we all are alike. Pick out the words. So the 5 words which indicate that we all are alike are: we walk, second, we breathe, third, we have eyes, fourth, we work with our hands, fifth, we enjoy the bounties of nature. Then the third question, how many common features can you find in stanza 2? Pick out the words. So for this you will write that there are 3 common features in stanza 2. They are as follows. First, we enjoy the bounties of nature and eat good food during peace. Second, we starve during war and in winter season. Third, we have similar hands which we use for doing labor. Now next, the fourth question says, whenever we are told to hate our brothers, when do you think this happens? Why? Who tell us? Should we do as we are told at such times? And what does the poet say? So for this you will write the answer like, the leaders of any country tell the masses to hate the people of another country, and they say so to fulfill their personal gains and benefits. The poet says that we should not follow them, because when we hate our brothers, we hate and belittle ourselves. And when we indulge in wars, we pollute and render the Mother Earth impure by laying dead bodies on it. So I hope that you all have got the answers of the questions and you can write it now. So that's all for today. Goodbye.